Hello, interwebs. It is once again I, Sebastian, from the Gonna Geek, doing the F3 and the G2 with the comical views in the giant messy shrine that is the back of Famous Faces and Funnies, where they do all their quality online auctions. They're going to do a special one tonight, so I have to pretend to talk fast. This is going to be free, so watch for that. Spoiler. Let's see. Batman Inc. Good call. We literally just got interrupted as they came through because someone had a detailed question about the undergarments of an anime statue that they'd put on eBay. So, just a day in the life around here.
You just don't ask questions anymore.
I try not to, but sometimes my stupid gets the better of me. Let's jump into some comical books. Extermination. The latest X event to end all X events, even though when Uncanny X-Men starts, it's going to be like a giant weekly event. That looks like Jamie Madrox may be a bad guy because fuck you. Anywho, in this, young Cable is kidnapping the mutants. Clearly he wants to get them back into where they belong in... back to where they belong in time, and needs to get them back to the way they were, which is why he is brutally ripping Angel's metal wings out.
Ow.
He's got those metal cosmic fire wings, and they're ripping them out so that he can, get his feathers back, so he can be the Angel we know and love when he gets put back in time. Meanwhile, Ahab is hunting them down because he doesn't want them to go back in time. He wants to fuck with their, past, present, future, all that fun nonsense. Oh, and Old Man Logan got turned into a hound, so that's gonna suck.
Like the literal dog hound?
No, like the lines on your face and hunt mutants for Ahab.
That.
So
Future hounds, gotcha.
So, it's a bad day to be X-Men in general. Art's beautiful. Story is I'm liking it. It's just all X-Men do have events, and at this point you have so many going on. I'll get to that later when I get up to X-Men Blue. That it's like, how are all of these happening at the same time? Why? It's a lot.
Wolverine on 3 teams at a time.
Marvel 2-in-1 thing in the Human Torch. This is a powerless thing in the Human Torch versus basically everybody. And it's so good. I'm actually almost sad that the Fantastic Four is back together because I'm not going to have them as just a buddy to cop duo. Although it does look like, at least for a while, Marvel 2-in-1 will continue with kind of like a Fantastic Four Marvel team-up. So eventually be Ben and Mr. Fantastic, and it could be the Storm siblings, but ultimately I've been liking the Terrific 2 over here. Joker Daffy Duck is one of let me pull the other one out because I only read 2 of these, but Joker Daffy Duck is one of the latest of the Looney Tunes DC crossovers, and Daffy becomes a henchman, and then becomes lead henchman for the Joker, but doesn't really, he's not really down with the Joker. While they're both kind of insane, you've got Looney and Daffy. Daffy's not really down for all the hardcore killing and violence, so he sort of sets it up, even though he ends up in Arkham because Batman doesn't know he was, taking down Joker from the inside. But, he packs the wrong gas so nobody dies. They're just sneezing. And he does it on purpose. He does a couple of things. Good, more or less. Most of Daffy's lines are just recycled Looney Tunes lines. But they thank a comedian for Joker's stand-up. So I guess his stand-up lines were written by an actual comedian. So... this one, on the other hand, the backup story. I forgot. Backup stories in both of these are great. The backup story in this one is, what you want to call it? I don't know. Who wrote the backup? Because that was brilliant. Joey Cavalieri, and the arts and colors are Luciano Vecchio. It's basically the opposite. Instead of the Daffy Duck being thrown into a realistic Daffy Duck being thrown into the actual DCU, you end up with regular cartoon Daffy Duck thrown into Batman, the animated series, where he's posing as a doctor and he goes in to, question the Joker, and that was actually funny, and the art style, that was an easier thing to digest. I mean, the main story was Brett Booth, who is an artist that I like as a person, but I'm not always thrilled with as an artist, and Scott Lobdell, who is Scott Lobdell, who, when he belts it out of the park, he is the most amazing guy in the world, and when he doesn't, he is not. And this was, it wasn't belted out. This is Gail Simone's Catwoman, Tweety, and Sylvester, which is actually more involved than that. There's a lot of moving parts. You end up with Catwoman and Sylvester. Witch Hazel and a bunch of other witches have made a bet as to who'd win. Will Tweety defeat Sylvester, or will Sylvester eat Tweety? Sylvester ends up meeting Catwoman. He falls in from whatever dimension of cartoon he comes from, and he's talking, and she's like, whoa. And of course, I never realized before as a child exactly. I mean, I guess it's what you got to do if you're one man doing every voice, but my God, every form of speech impediment known to man, the Looney Tunes have it, stutters, lisps, lateral lisps, the inability to say W's versus, R's versus W's. Holy crap, they're all there. And you don't become fully aware of that until someone has to write all of this and you see it spelled out phonetically. So Catwoman teams with Sylvester. Tweety Bird, the Canary, teams with Black Canary.
Of course.
They end up fighting, but they also end up calling in. You end up with every cat-themed hero and villain working with Catwoman and Sylvester, and they pull some out. Gail Simone did her homework. You've got the obvious of Catman and Bronze Tiger show up, and Dinah's like, oh yeah, because Hawkman and Hawkgirl show up, and then from there, as the Hawks are attacking, Catwoman calls in Amanda Waller, whereas Dinah keeps calling Oracle. So Oracle, Barbara Gordon sending in all the birds for
the birds of prey,
and then you've got suddenly Cheetah is taking down the Hawks, but then Starfire shows up because, yes, according to the actual Teen Titans myth, her species are evolved. They are cat people. They are evolved from cats. That's a little esoteric fact. So naturally, who shows up to stop Starfire? Raven. And then Dinah actually has to fight with her Uncle Ted because, Wildcat shows up. You've got all this. In the end, there's like this crazy group shot. Streaky's there. Hawk and Dove.
This
couple
is
of Robins. There's the blonde Catwoman. I'm not even sure You've got Strix because she's one of the talents. You've got Lady Blackhawk. I think everybody here just kind of shows up in this giant. Look at this group of just cats and birds. Everybody's there, and it was a lot of fun. And in the end, they realize, of course, that they don't have to, and they defeat the witches through and then somehow, as a result, Catwoman ends up with her own Robin sidekick, which is Tweety in a little Catwoman mask, and Sylvester joins Dinah on stage in her New 52 rocking out, a little costume, as they put out bands. She puts out a couple of songs that go huge, including I Taught, Putty Tat, and the smash follow-up, Suffering Succotash. And then we get the same thing. We get animated series Catwoman and animated series style Black Canary, Justice League Unlimited style Black Canary versus, teaming up and being along the way thwarted by Sylvester and Tweety, and that was lots of fun. New Mutants, Dead Souls. Ends without ending, I guess because there's so many X events going on, but currently Warlock isn't actually dead, but he's a powder that is spreading across various New Mutants, and he can replicate himself, so he's made Warlock versions of various other New Mutants, and he's not really in control. And it just kind of ends with everybody being, somehow Strong Guy dies, but comes back, but he's been missing for, apparently, according to everyone else, 36 hours, but for him, he says, seems like longer, and he's got this huge white beard. And then, yeah, it just kind of ends with the end and a question mark. And welcome to the Team Karma. Now we're all monsters, and everybody in the New Mutants is kind of digitized. And I don't know what to tell you. I guess I'm glad Warlock's not dead. Brothers Dracula, Cullen Bunn's story of the brothers. We find out, I don't know if Dracula, if Vlad is a vampire yet, but he's on the road because the girl that he was in love with who got turned into a vampire is now the vampire who can do most of the turning. And while it looks like as a young guy he is able to take her down, it turns out he actually just kind of saved her and has her in shambles. So there's secrets, there's whatever. This continues to be a really good, really different and yet familiar take on the Dracula story. XMen Blue takes place in one of the many X-Men futures, where the young X-Men from the past have grown up from the now because they never went back. So of course the future's a mess, and that all ties into everything else that's going on. But this is a separate mess because this isn't part of that mini-series that they got. So that's where I get confusified. But this one's Cullen Bunn, so it's good. Speaking of Cullen Bunn, we got Bone Parish #2, continuing another of his horrors here. It's got like 100 series going on, and 78 of them are horror.
He knows what he likes.
And the remaining ones are some kind of horror genre mashup, or an X-book. Which, depending on how you feel about the X-Men, could still be horrible. But basically the idea is that you've got kind of a voodoo drug dealing kind of way of, you can steal moments from people's lives. You take them from the corpses, but now they've discovered that you can steal moments from people who are still alive. So if it wasn't dark enough that you're using magic and corpse pieces to live somebody else's memories, if that wasn't dark enough for you, now they're just actually doing horrible things to live people to take it. And the moral ambiguity becomes less ambiguous and also much less moral. So there's both on the decline. Beautiful art, good story. And that, my friends, is the last of the books that I read. So, I don't know, watch a Famous Faces auction and read some articles on Gonna Geek. And then play some mind-numbing, time-killing app.